あの時ね、
inside to save fuel.
多分石油が値下がったのかもしれませんね。
Sorry, Jimmy, this is America. Ronald Reagan used
フリーダムって言葉を好んだんですね。
the word
他の
freedom
プレゼントに
more than any other president in American history. But it's interesting to think about what he meant by the word freedom. Because as we've seen in American history, freedom has meant lots of things to lots
まあ
of
いろんな意味
people.
があって、
Is freedom from government tyranny? Or is freedom government
いろんなフリーダムあるよ。
protection from hunger and homelessness and military attacks? Do governments ultimately restrict freedom? Or
まあフリーダムを制限するか、自由を提供するか。フリーダムを制限するっていうのは前やったように戦争なんか報道規制するっていうのは当然ですよみたいな、そういうリストリクトフリーダムね。
provide it. Now, there's no question that the federal government that Ronald Reagan inherited would have been absolutely full.
これフォレンツーと無関係無縁だってですね、この国を築いた人々とは全く無縁、彼が言ってるフリーダムっていうのは
Now, there's no question that the federal government that Ronald Reagan inherited would have been
全く国を作ったね、人たちが言ったものとは全然違う。
absolutely foreign to the people who founded this country. I mean, Social Security.
でエンドーメント、さっき言った基金ね、アート芸術品に対するナショナルエンドーメントっていうのは、これはだから寄付金ですね、今回の場合ね、これはね。
Security federal income taxes, the National Endowment for the Arts? But some people would argue
だからそういうことに対するまあ無税っていうかね、もっと自由にできるようなことを言ったってことですよね、これ。
that the America of 1980 was much more free for more Americans than, say, the America of 1790, when, after all, slavery was legal.
だから奴隷制度がね解放すると1790年のアメリカ。
And in fact, in the early 19th century, many slave owners said that the government was taking away their freedom to own slaves. Ultimately, the question of how we should imagine freedom and how we should allow for it is at the center of American history. And a big part of Ronald
だからレーガンの場合はフリーダムって言ってるのエコノミックフリーダムですね。
Reagan's vision of freedom was economic freedom, which he laid out in his
エコノミックビル・オブ・ライト、経済の法案、権利の経済の法案、なんかそういうことをレーガンは出したんですよね。でカーテイルだと思うんですけど、抑制する、抑える。でカーテイル、ユニオンパワー、組合ですね。それから
economic bill of rights. It would curtail union power, reduce federal regulation of
だから連邦の規制をね、産業に対する、もしくは環境に対する規制を減らして、
industry and
で税金を減らす。
the environment, and most of all, lower taxes. All these ideas were
だからレーガン革命の多くの部分がだから規制を撤廃したり、組合を抑えたり、まあトランプに近いことですよね、彼やってるの。
big part of the Reagan Revolution, but as we know, much of what he proposed had been brewing for years during the rise of conservatism. So what aspects of this economic Bill of Rights actually ended up happening? Well, his main accomplishment was low.
まあ一番最大の彼がやったのはローバータックスですよね。
taxes. In 1981, Reagan persuaded Congress to lower
これトランプ同じことやってるんですよね。
the top tax rate from 70% to 50%. In 1986, Congress went much further with the Tax Reform Act that lowered the top income tax rate to 28%.
一番所得税みたいなやつは、
まあ、富裕層も含めたね、タックスレートを
すごいっすね。70%だったっすね。
そうそういや戦後はもっとひどかったんだけどだんだん下げてきて
With the Tax Reform Act
ローバートップインカムタックスね、だからトップインカムタックスって最も金持ちのトップ28になった
that lowered the top income tax rate to 28%. Done. Time for the mystery doc?
ミステリードキュメントって書いてるこの箱の中ね箱の中
Document. The rules here are simple. I read the mystery document, I either get the author of it correct or I get shocked. Alright, here we go. Can I just take a preliminary guess that it's going to be Reagan? I will not accept the excuse that the federal government has grown so big and powerful that it is beyond the control of any
まあ連邦政府でかすぎて、まあ、大統領の範囲を超えてるっていうね
president, any administration, or
プレゼントとか政府とかコングレスね
Congress. We are going to put an end to the notion
going to put an end to the notion 考え方ねアメリカのタックスペイヤー
taxpayer exists to fund the federal government. The federal government exists to serve the American people and to be accountable to the American people.
ここのとこはね、
The federal government exists to serve the American people.
アメリカの人民のためにねアカウンタブル責任持つね
And to be accountable to the American people. On January 20th, we are going to reestablish that truth.
That truth その真実をもう一回再確立
Also on that date, we are going to initiate action to get substantial relief for our tax-paying citizens and to put people back to work. We will simply apply to our government the common sense that we use in our daily lives. It is Reagan! Stan is telling me that I'm not going to get the check mark unless I guess the correct speech. Well, he talks about January 20th, so obviously it's not his inaugural address. It's either the acceptance speech he gave at the convention or like the speech that he gave after he was elected, but I don't think... Convention? Yes! So the idea that lower taxes is the best way to...
スパーって拍車かけるね
spur economic growth is called supply-side economics or trickle-down economics.
サプライサイドエコノミートリクルダウンと垂れるトリクルダウンエコノミクスね
If you're George H.W. Bush running against Ronald Reagan in the 1980 primaries, voodoo economics.
ブードゥってブードゥエコノミックってブードゥってなんだっけ魔術師ブードゥね
Sadly, this does not involve zombies or putting pins in dolls. Instead, it's about high interest.
これだから
Sadly, this does not involve zombies or
ピンズインドールって人形に釘刺す
putting pins in dolls. Instead, it's about high interest rates to combat inflation coupled with cutting taxes.